Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Making It Simple. This is Pastor Randy. Looking forward to being with you today on this beautiful Monday. I sit here, look out of my office window, and it's a little cloudy, little blue sky, kind of all mixed together. But what a beautiful day, and what a beautiful time to start our week together. I hope you've had a blessed weekend. I am excited about the message today. We're going to continue looking at Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8. And what we've been looking at about the things that are pure and true and honest and lovely and all those different things. Today we are going to focus on that very word, lovely. Whatsoever things are lovely. Now that's not an unusual word. We use that word quite a bit when we're describing things because it is indeed a descriptive word. But I want us to look at the fact that as we relate to the word power, and we've been talking about that word. As we relate to the word power, the power of lovely, hear me right now, the power of lovely changes us. It changes us. And you say, well, Pastor, what are you talking about? Listen to this. The word lovely means very pleasant. It means enjoyable. It means delightful. Paul says, think on those things. If you indeed are spending time thinking on things that are pleasant or enjoyable or delightful, you're having a better day. No question about it. That's just reality. That is a fact. These type of things, if you will, these type of thoughts, they produce rest. And if you rest, you feel better. If you rest, you find peace. Now, some may have the rebuttal, and they may say, well, Pastor, I've got so much whatever. You can fill in the blank with whatever concept you want. I've got so much of that going on. You just don't know. You just don't know how upside down things are, how things are in my life, and this and that, and we could go on. But that goes back to the first point. Purity. What are we allowing in? Think about that for a minute. What are we allowing in? You see, thoughts that produce strife, thoughts that produce just chaos and all these different things that happen, they come. They're real. But we don't have to let them live there. They don't get to sign a lease. They don't get to move in. They don't get to buy a mortgage and live here. They don't. We get to say no. We get to evict that stuff. We get to make it go away. So the question is, do you seek that which is lovely? That which brings rest, that which brings peace, that which is pleasant and enjoyable and desirable. Do you do that? Do you look for the pleasant? Do you look for the things that are better? Or is it easier to find faults? Is it easier to find things to gripe and complain about? That's a valid question, friends. What we allow to occupy our hearts and our mind, it ultimately gives birth to something. And if it's not something that's pure and honest and true and lovely, then what's being produced is none of those things either. You see, it goes back to what and who. We can't have one or the other. They are absolutely married. They are combined. What controls our thoughts and who? Who controls? See, friends, we have to understand that God is pleased God is pleased when we focus on the things that unify rather than the things that divide. Because unified, we stand strong. We have old adages, old sayings, together we stand, divided we fall, on so on. But the Bible says that. It says a house divided cannot stand. When we seek lovely, we find a power that restores. In other words, again, we're looking for pleasant, we're looking for enjoyable, desirable. When we seek lovely, we find a power that restores. We find the power that glorifies God rather than focusing on the negative. Because again, what does that produce? Does it help in any way? If we're honest, we know the answer is no. Because the fact is that negative is real. It exists. There's no question about that. But let's think about it this way. Negative is real. It exists. Garbage is real. And it stinks. You see, just because something is real doesn't mean we have to allow it to remain in our life. Garbage is real. We have things that we need to discard, things we need to send to the refuge center, whatever the case. But it doesn't get to stay. Why? Because it ruins the lovely of our home. It doesn't smell good. It may bring bugs. It may bring mice and vermin and pests and all these other things. It could just go on and on. It could bring disease because it may produce something awful. That is what garbage and trash, things that needs to be tossed away and go away. That's a physical thing. Don't we think negative does the same thing to our hearts and to our spirits? Paul says, find the things that are true, find the things that are honest, find the things that are pure, find the things that are lovely. And think about those things. Because they bring quality, they bring goodness to your life, not the things that are negative. See, we are able to remove things that are not helpful to us. Why don't we do the same thing with our thoughts? Why don't we embrace the power that the good side of that brings instead of the negative? We get to have the off button. We get to say no. Paul says, whatsoever things are lovely, think on these things. If we look at that and understand the power of that one word, something that is pleasant, something that is desirable, something that is enjoyable, why wouldn't we want that? There's nothing more that I enjoy than walking down the shore of the beach. I see the power and the might of the ocean, but I find it peaceful. I see the creation of God. I've been blessed to go in different places around this world and see majesty. I've seen the redwoods. I've seen the Pacific Ocean. I've seen the Atlantic. I've seen the Gulf. I've seen the Grand Canyon. I've seen the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. All these different things. And I don't say that to brag. I've just been fortunate to do that. What do we allow to dwell here? What are we allowing to give us power or remove it? Because we get say over that. We have absolute say. We need to tap into that. Paul says, think on these things. This is where we must figure, where am I going to live? We all know our address. We all know where we stay. We all know where we lay our head. But we also know what we're going to allow to live there. We're not going to allow someone to come into our home and stay there that we don't want there. And not a stranger or something that's going to bring negativity or harm into our home. We're not going to do that because we are the owner. We get to say no. But we're the owner of our thoughts. We're the owner of what we allow to dwell within this. Why don't we exercise that same power? Lovely creates a power to have a better life. If we look at the remainder of this passage, Paul says, look at the things of a good report. What does that mean? What is the things of a good report? The power of believing things of a good report, it changes us. The power of investing in things of a good report changes us. What is a good report? What does that even mean? Well, let's go back to all the words that are here. True and honest and pure and lovely. In other words, it's something that is beneficial. Beneficial. Even think of the word beneficiary. If you are the beneficiary of someone's insurance policy or whatever, you gain from that. It is a benefit. It is a help. If you get benefits at work, insurance or retirement or what, that is a benefit. That is something you gain. Why wouldn't we want to think on that? Not from a greed or any type of thing like that, but no, that's a benefit to me. That's what I should be looking at. Not the things that steal from me, not the things that harm me or rob from me. We all know a reporter. All of us know one. You say, well, Pastor, yeah, I know the people on TV. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the people on TV. I'm talking about those who always have a story about somebody else. We all know that, or about a situation. Some of those stories are good. Some of those stories are not good. Some are true. Many are not. But this goes back to our thoughts. This goes back to what we allow to be there. What do we allow to give us power or take power away? How do we see things? How do we view things? What lenses are we looking through? What influences our thoughts? Do we see blessings? Or do we find instantly the negative and the flaws? It is 100% about our perspective. What do we see and how do we see it? What are the lenses we're looking through? I heard someone not all that long ago, and they were told, or asked the question, I should say, what would you do if you won $1 million? If somehow you came into $1 million, how would you feel? Perspective is everything, because typically one would get pretty excited about that. They would see the positive of that. Life change, the ability to pay their bills, whatever the case. This was the person's response. Well, I don't know. I guess it will be okay, but that's an awful lot of taxes to pay. Perspective. Perspective is a direct result. Hear me now. Perspective is a direct result of what controls our thoughts. And even more so, who? Who controls what goes on in here? If it is not you and the relationship you have with the Lord, the swaying of that is like the breeze blowing through the trees. So the thought is on that and what's controlling me. Who's controlling me makes me ask the question to myself and to all of you, what kind of reporter are you? What do you say? What do you tell? What do you see? Do you think on things that are true? Do you think on things that are honest? Do you think on things that are pure? Do you think on things that are lovely? Do all of those tally to have something of a good report? Friends, this is serious. And this is life-changing. It is life-changing, pure and lovely and good report. These are the qualities. This is why this is important as I wrap this up. What do you see? How do you see it? Because these things that Paul speaks of here, true, honest, pure, lovely, good report, these are the qualities of Christ. That's what we should be seeing, and that's what others should see in us. You see, these are available. These qualities are available to anyone who desires them. They are found, every one of them, at the heart, at the core of our relationship with Christ. How serious is it? How sincere is it? How deep is it? This is why full surrender is so important. Not just an acknowledgement. A lot of people say, I believe in God. A lot of people say, oh, yeah. Full surrender. That goes back to verse 6. Stop worrying about everything. That also is reflective of how much we trust God. You see, when we have full surrender, when our heart completely belongs to Jesus, these qualities of truth and honesty and purity and they are reproduced within us. Therefore, others are able to see that these are real and that they too can have them. It is possible. Hope can be found. Truth can be found. Just can be found. All these different things can be found. Many people desire that others do this or do that. But what example do we set before them? What are we bringing to the table? Christ-controlled thinking. That really is something to think about. Are we there? Are we doing what He's asked us to do? Are we doing what He's placed before us? Are we seeking those things that are lovely? Something that's enjoyable, desirable, that makes our life better. Because when we do, we often reciprocate that. We show that to others, say, hey, this is possible. You can have this same thing. This is how I got there. It's called creating an example. And that's what Jesus did in His walk on this earth. He came to show us God's plan. He came to show us it is possible. It can be better. When we think on these things, as Paul would say, it causes us to take a pause and to say, what am I thinking about? What is controlling my thoughts? And who is controlling my thoughts? When you can answer that question, and when that answer ultimately becomes Christ, you'll find a difference in your life that you didn't know was possible. Because through Him, all things are possible. God bless you. Lord willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow with the next part of this series on power as we continue to look at Christ-controlled thinking, but the next additional component to that and why that's important. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.